guess if we want, we can get started. Uh, why don't we start, so I don't forget, with Colleen's, you know what I didn't print up, and it's really important, is the septic systems. And I don't have it with me, but let's do the minutes for October 25th. What do we have? Any discussion about them? I'm okay with them.
No, I'm good, Dick. I'm good.
Yeah, all fine.
Okay. Does one of you guys have the thing that I printed up? My problem is I can't easily print it. It's on this computer and I'm not connected to a printer for the septic systems. Does any of you have that printout?
Let me take a look.
Is this independent of the packet that I received?
Yeah, the one that I normally send out for septic applications that would be for this meeting.
Oh,
It would not be on Colleen's.
Okay, I've got something October 26th, La Liberty, Lot 6 revised.
No, that's not it. This would have gone out yesterday.
Okay.
And there were two of them. One is the upgraded one with Neil Jack.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I saw that at the conservation meeting last night, Dick, so I'm familiar with that.
Well, we can do and I don't know if I might be able to go back and forth here. Let me see if I can open it without wiping us all out.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Hang on. No, I don't have it in this one. This is not a good thing. And none of it, you don't have it either, huh, Colleen?
I think I do. I've got all the meeting stuff. Yeah, I've got it.
So Dick, it's the new Neil Jackson design.
Yeah, it's got one of the, and on top of it, I'm not getting the best sound.
Actually, you know what I could do? I think I have it from conservation last night, and I can forward it to you guys. Let me see if I can find it.
That's
Yeah,
only
hold on.
Neil's. The problem is there are four of them on there. There's one of them that's lot 1 on Amher Street. That's the one
Yeah, that's Thornton. That's the new Thornton one.
moved
Yeah.
the well on the septics. And that
Yes.
one is just, it's not a new permit. It's just a movement of the septic tank and the well. And
Yep.
they're far enough, they're 100 feet from the water, they're 100 feet
Yep.
from everybody's septic system, and all it is a change. In fact, I think he sent it as if it was gonna be an as-built.
Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna send that to you right now, Dick. I'll send it to you and Lee and then Colleen. And it's going to be entitled Notice of Intent Thornton. But when you dig into the document, the septic plan is near the end of the document. It's a 22-page document.
Oh, don't do it then, Bill. All we've got to do is approve the modification of moving the septic tank and the well. And if we're good with that, it's just a modification and we just accept the modification.
Okay, that's fine.
Lee, how about with you? You've seen it.
Yeah, Lee, did you spotted the well on that property, the new well location?
yeah, we dragged it down
Yeah, Neil said 19 feet or something.
approximately 19 feet.
That's
in
what he
in
said
a,
last night. Okay, I'm good with that.
Northerly direction. And we drew some arcs.
Okay,
And with the tank being moved to the other side of the house, we're well out of that 100-foot radius and
okay.
the reserves in the proposed SAS locations. We should be more than fine.
I don't know if I was losing people's voices and it said I was unstable, so I just tried to switch my modem around and just twist it and see if I do better.
Yeah, your audio is pretty solid. You are choppy from time to time, Dick, but you're about 95% solid.
Okay. So we're good with that one? We can just accept it,
Yes.
I believe so, yes.
Lee? Okay.
Yes.
The next one is lot 8 on Cold Hill Drive. That's Neil Jackson. It's a 3-bedroom home. It's it's two 90-foot trenches that are 3 foot wide, 12-inch effective depth, vented, 2-compartment tank. It's got ballast on the tank, 4-foot separation from the water table, and it's on a steep slope going down till shallow to water. It's anywhere from 24 to 36 inches. The water table is designed for the 24, and what he's got is on the side of the property. So if you look on the north side of the property, like halfway down the bank, so that he can get back to grade, he's got a stone wall. He's got a barrier, a polyethylene barrier in there. My thought is that he's far enough away that he probably doesn't need the barrier, but it's not against code to put it there. And he goes a little bit, his fill goes a little bit into the buffer. It's got siltation control on it. And I don't know what, Bill and Lee, what are your thoughts on it? Should we approve it? It's subject to fill and a trench permit.
Yeah. Neil came before the commission last night, and we approved him at conservation for the encroachment on the buffer, Dick. And again, the design's fine, and it's a great improvement over the earlier design. So I'm good with it.
Lee, how about you?
Just a quick question, Bill. Is the location of the SAS down the hill, is that going to be a manageable location as far as future pumping goes? In other words, is it going to be so far down the hill that you're going to have difficulty getting lift?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't have the plan in front of me, but you'd have to look at the elevation at the bottom of the tank compared with the elevation of the street or the driveway. And Neil, you have that handy?
I do, yeah. Let's see, driveway, we're at 124. Tank is going in at 115.42.
Okay, no, the bottom of the tank. What's the bottom of the sump in the tank? Not the invert, the bottom of the tank.
111.42.
Okay. And what's the driveway?
124.
So
Okay,
Dick,
all right.
that's about what, 13 feet?
13 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That shouldn't be a problem for
You should be
pumping.
able to pump that with a vacuum
Yeah.
without any
All right,
trouble.
that won't be an issue. Because there are some, as we all know, that are, 50 odd feet down the hill, and they can never be maintained.
Yeah, the house across the street.
That's right.
Yeah.
You have to somehow put a pump down in it to get it out. So that one would be approved, subject to fill and a trench permit.
All right, yep.
Good.
So the three of us are good with that.
Okay, good.
Okay. The next one is 291 East State Street. That's the Window World House. It's the one next to the library. It is the one that there is an approved system with a pump and fill, and it's a new property that was to be purchased from Alice Stewart, I think is her name. We've been informed by I guess, 2 different engineers that the property either didn't make it through probate. In fact, Bob Caparelli said to me that there were legal issues and that the land wasn't available. And, we certainly haven't received anything from a lawyer saying that can't be done. But in reality, anybody can ask to have another system put in design. So it's not illegal to abandon that design. The issue on this property, with the design that was submitted, one is that the perk test wasn't witnessed by a Board of Health soil evaluator. And they're asking, the original design asked for a 2-foot separation, and according to Presby, or actually according to the DEP for a Presby system, you can't do that without the soil evaluator. But the issue that we have, though, and Bob Caffarelli sent me a note last night saying that he was going to raise the SAS up to 4 feet, not 2 feet, and he was going to put a pump in. However, the system that's proposed is in the front yard, and it looks like if you scale it from the drawing, it's 50 feet from the well to the septic tank. And Bob has asked for a variance to put in the SAS at 55 feet. Now, I was just gonna say, let's not discuss it because Bob's gonna change the design. But I don't think it's fair to Bob or the landowner that if we're gonna have a discussion about whether we're gonna approve the 55-foot variance to the well, we owe it to them now to make that decision. That's not a fair thing to have them go through the design work and then tell them we're not going to allow them. So what I'm asking the 2 of you, that when I looked in the file, I can't even find that well has ever been used. It looked to me like it's a new well, and in our file, I can't see that well was put in with a permit. And our history with houses that are going to sell is really that we've taken a stand that that's the time that you fix well septic system separations, that we don't give those variances. But why don't Lee and Bill, why don't you give your opinions and thoughts?
Dick, I had an administrative question. Who's the owner of the property currently?
I don't know.
Because here's the interesting thing that I found.
Bill, this is Steve Brunetti. I'm the owner of the property at the.
Oh, you're not talking about Steve, we're
No,
not.
no, we're doing a different
Well,
one,
maybe you
Steve.
are. Well, maybe he owns both of them, Bill.
No, I'm talking about 21 West Street. So my
Oh, no, we're
apologies.
talking about
I-
something else. Dick, if I could,
Sorry.
the owner lives at 102 Oak Ridge Drive in Belchertown. And it's reported to be Timothy Drost. And I just did a little bit of scouting on Mass Mapper. And of course, the Mass Mapper doesn't, it may not be the most current assessor's card, but it does show the owner resides at 102 Oak Ridge Drive in Belchertown. But the name of the owner on Mass Mapper is Tang Properties LLC, Limited Liability Corporation. So I'm wondering if Tim Drost is Tang Properties LLC, and if so, if the true owner is Tang Properties, why wasn't that noted on the application form? Colleen, what does your application form say? Does it say Tim Drost?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't have it in front of me, but yeah.
Oh,
Tim
okay.
Gross.
Anyway, I just did a little scoping on that. And the thing that's somewhat odd there is it's an LLC that currently owns the property. And once it's conveyed, if there's any issue going forward, Tang Property can say, well, I'm an LLC, sorry. You see what I'm saying, Dick?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Lee, what is your thought on it?
Well, two things. The first question is whether or not this type of alternative system allows a well to be any closer than 100 feet by their own company specs. And my second comment is that we have never, that I can recall, allowed a well in this type of environment. It's a complete redo of the property, totally. Gutting of the house, new septic, new everything. We've never allowed a well to be installed or approved within the 100-foot arc, and should not be starting that now.
Yeah, I think at least when I read the regs, I think if we're at the 4-foot separation with the Presby system, the Board of Health could allow that variance. I know Bob Caffarelli and I have gone back and forth about whether it can be with the 2-foot, but his proposal as of last night was that it was going to be a 4-foot separation. So as I said, that if the board is going to say we're not going to allow the variance, we should absolutely not be asking that Bob to put the work in it, the owner to pay for the work, and then just to find out at the next meeting, we're not going to approve the variance. That's not fair to anybody. And I will say that regardless of whether they can in fact purchase the land or not, if you look at someone, if I had this property and I were trying to sell it, and given that I had an option that was gonna make me to keep that well, I was gonna have to buy a piece of land, put a pump system in, put a whole bunch of fill to get it up to the 4-foot separation. And then someone said, hey, I got a better deal for you. I can put the system in at 2 feet, don't have to put a pump, and you keep the well. I'd be saying, wow, let's save the money and let's it not work real hard at trying to buy that land and put the other system in. But regardless, that they have a right to ask for another design. They absolutely have that. And I'm standing where Lee is, that this board can't remember one single time at the time of a transfer said, okay, let's pass this problem on to the next person that's going to own it. But this board has always said, this is the time to fix it. And you don't, for the sake of one person making money, throw a potential problem on the next person to own it. And I see that as this case. And my feeling is we should not be giving that variance. We should hold the 100-foot requirement. Lee, it
And I
sounds
speak-
like you're not quite. In a second, you will.
Okay.
And actually, before you give the answer, I've heard, why don't we let Jill talk? Go
Okay.
ahead.
So for
Yeah.
one thing, he is building this house for his son. He's fixing up this house for his son. He's not flipping this house. He's not trying to push this on to anybody else. He cannot purchase the land next door. It has gone into probate because the woman has passed away, and the children have different ideas on what they want to do. So this is, it's just a repair. It's repair of a septic system. I don't see a problem with allowing a variance on a repair for a home that a young man is looking to. I mean, they're getting frustrated because, he wanted to be in by this year, and of course he won't be able to with the way it's looking now. But, he wanted to purchase that land next door and he cannot now.
With all due respect to everybody, I was told that the house was for his niece. So we're getting conflicting stories, which doesn't change it much of the fact. But Bill's comment of the LLC is pertinent here. And the well separation is very pertinent here. And I am not willing to let that go, just so everybody knows.
So you typically make people on a repair put in a brand new well? Is that-
Absolutely. Absolutely we
Been
do.
done many,
And it's
many.
especially Jill, that when properties are going to change hands, this board has a policy of saying, this is the time where you fix those problems and you don't hand them on to the next person.
Correct.
Bill, what is your, and Jill, just so you know, we're not discussing the approval of the system that Bob, the last communication that I had with Bob is that he was going to redesign, and he talked about a pump and raising the system, but that he said there was going to be a redesign coming, but I wanted to make sure that if we were not going to grant that variance for the well separation, that you and your client know that before anybody spends any money on design work. So Bill, what is your thought on the well? I'm with
Well,
Lee. I don't think we should grant this variance.
Well, just on the technical side, Jill, how deep is it to bedrock in that area roughly?
I didn't actually do the perks, but what I was told is they dug around in a lot of different places and couldn't find anything except up in the front. So I would.
That's consistent, because I know at the library, bedrock is real high at the library.
Bill, the
And that's
numbers there for that area are about, on the back is about, when Lee was there, and I looked at the original holes, the logs for the holes, you can be pretty sure it's in the 2-foot range, the rock.
Okay, so, but my point is that well, I'm sure relies on fissures in the rock, cracks in the rock. And if you've got a leach field and you're 55 feet away, you might have a direct conduit to that well. Bingo, just like a pipe. So absent a lot of soil, that's another reason to maintain the 100-foot setback off the well, Dick. Because again, you've got fractured rock. We don't have a lot of filtration going on there. So again, based on what the board has done in the past, and even when I was on the board years and years and years ago, you abided by the same policy, Dick, 30 years
Right.
ago. So I think it's good
Right.
practice to have these folks put in a new well.
Okay, Jill, so we're unanimous on this. The 3 members are that we're not going to grant that variance, and it's going to have to be the 100 feet. To the SAS, not to the tank.
Okay, I will let them know.
So then our next item is 21 West Street. And I'd like to caution that the board has a policy for design reviews and that they are not done at meetings. They are done outside of meetings. This particular design review did not go to a completion where the engineer and me doing the design review reached consensus to say how this system should be installed. It is a 2-bedroom house. The owner, I have not been on it, but the owner has measured the ceiling in the finished basement that the building inspector says there's no permit for the work that's been done in the basement, but the owner is measured and said the ceiling height in that basement is 6'6", which precludes being legally used as a bedroom. The space is there to do that, but so it's gone, the repair has gone in as submitted as a 2-bedroom house. It is a Presby system. It is proposed that at 2 feet separation between the groundwater and the bottom of the Presby system, which is excuse me, 3 feet. It's a 2-minute an inch, so it's a 2-foot reduction in groundwater separation. There are some issues that I have that when I look at the Presby work, this one is got a 4-foot barrier 5 feet from the Presby system around 3 sides of it. It's out at 5 feet. When you look at, I passed along to Lee and Bill and Colleen the Presby ruling on barriers, as well as the DEP ruling on barriers. And DEP is saying that they think that the barrier should be out at 10 feet. Presby, in fact, says that the barrier, not specific about where the barrier goes, but Presby, this system shows sand 1 foot beyond the edge of the Presby pipes. Presby says that the sand should go out to the barrier, which it doesn't. I don't think, in fact, that it needs a barrier when you go through it. But that's not as I look at the real issue, at our last meeting, Lee and Bill and I all agreed that the wetlands ought to be delineated. It turns out that the state and their approval for the Presby system, my reading of it is very clear. I've now read it 10 times, and it says that if you need a wetland separation reduction, you cannot take the 2-foot reduction in the water table to the base of the Presby system. So I did walk the property. Bob didn't have any, there's also another issue that Lee is not a soil evaluator, licensed soil evaluator. And the state also says that you can't take that 2-foot reduction in the water table separation without having a town approved, a town authorized agent or a board member who's a soil evaluator. So the other is that when Bob added the 100-foot offset to the wetlands, he showed it well short of the SAS. And when I walked the property, I estimate it was a really easy spot. I'm not a wetlands guy, but it was really easy for me to see a well-defined wetlands break where the water was right up to a sharp edge. And that was about 40 feet from the proposed SAS. This board 3 weeks ago said that we weren't going to approve this until the wetlands was delineated. I related that to Bob, and this hasn't been done. So in my view, we can't approve this design right now. Go ahead, Lee and Bill.
Go ahead, Lee.
As of last Saturday, I also walked the property after that mild rain that we had. There was standing water in the ditch on the east side of the property behind the shed from that drain, which I think comes from the West Street School parking lot. And it was sitting in 2 locations, probably on top of the ledge. And maybe 35 or so feet off the back edge of the property, there was a lot of standing water in the back. And again, it wasn't, just as an observation, I was concerned about the water and the SAS location without delineation. I shared that with Mr. Brunetti, and apparently no delineation has occurred since. But again, it's right there. It has to be dealt with.
Okay.
Bill, go on.
Yeah. Based on what I'm hearing, and I've heard numerous times, I'd strongly recommend that Jill or Mr. Brunetti file for an RDA with the commission. The commission next meets on the 13th of December. So if you get your paperwork into Kathy Leonard in the next week and a half or so, you can be on the agenda for the 13th. I'd strongly recommend you do that.
Okay, I will let the homeowner know. I don't do the delineations, so he'll have to find somebody to do that.
Okay. Jill, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Could I ask a process question? This is Steve Brunetti, the property owner.
Yes, you can.
So the requirement for this delineation, while I'm not going to suggest it's a complete surprise, it was not really communicated to me that was necessary. There was a lot of dialogue back and forth. As I followed the dialogue between the designer and the board member, I expected that all these issues had already been resolved. Setbacks were agreed to. The drain from the road was identified as a drain from the road, and there was only a 10-foot setback needed. And I did speak with Lee just a few days ago. And as he mentioned, he did have some concerns about having conservation delineate the land. And then he mentioned that, and it hasn't been done. Well, that was just a few days ago. And I will get on the agenda, as mentioned, hopefully being able to get this buttoned up by the 13th. So my process question is, that's step one. Then what? Does a new design have to happen based on the Wetlands Commission coming over and saying, now a delineator says, here's what our wetlands are. That picture gets given to the designer. The designer then does what? Designs a whole new system? Or then can you review the system that's already been designed?
When I read the Presby approval from the state, I read it, and I've read it several times, and it says that you uptake and reduction in water table separation if you have to reduce the clearance to the wetland. So if that wetland, which I expect it to be, if that wetland is within 100 feet of the proposed SAS, then conservation can tell you you've got things that you have to do, but to comply with them. But the state also has said you have to raise it by the 2 feet that Bob took away. So that would be required. The other thing that is required is that even if the wetland were further than 100 feet, then you still, to take that 2-foot reduction in water table separation, you had to have a soil evaluator that was either a Board of Health member or a Board of Health agent that was there at the same time looking at those soils. And that
So-
hasn't been done either.
So I have two concerns on that. The perk was done with a board member present. I have to wonder why there wasn't a soil evaluator approved by the board or a board member certified as a soil evaluator at that time. Sounds to me like you're going to make me have it done again with another person's eyeballs watching. The second thing I have,
You
is-
hired an engineer to make sure that the state laws were followed. The Board of Health witnessed it as the state laws require. And what happened here is your engineer decided he was going to drop the system further into the ground than the state called for. And he didn't have the person that was needed to do that observation for the design he chose to make. He absolutely can design the system according to code with the data that he has, other than the wetlands. And I'm going to take really big exception to your finding this out a few days ago. You knew from the first time that I got in touch with your engineer, I said that this board would require to be delineated. I said that to your engineer. My guess is 2 days after our last meeting. It may have been 1 day after the last meeting. So this may have been a surprise to you. I'm guessing it wasn't, because I think you got copies.
correct.
of at least some of the things.
I'm not suggesting it's a surprise. I followed the dialogue and expected that all your concerns were addressed with all the dialogue going back and forth. Because I'm not a
That is
designer,
absolutely not
I
true.
expected that it was, but I have my second concern. My first one was that. My second concern is the very last correspondence that you sent suggested a path to proceed. In there, after those 4 or 5 criteria were met, you suggested that conservation wouldn't need to be involved if we followed that path. So I'd like to ask, if we follow that path last identified by you in the last correspondence, do we need to have it delineated and get conservation involved? Because that's what you said. Do you recall that?
I do, and I think it was before I went and saw that the system was so close to the water. But what you should remember is that my last conversation that was included copies to the other board members and that it was to Colleen, is I said, you and your engineer have not reached a consensus with in the design review process. And you asked to have other members discuss this. And I said, I'm not going to go further with this. It's going to be up to you and the other members of the Board of Health. So you're the one that asked for this to happen. And so it did. It went to this board, and the board is saying we're rejecting the design as proposed. And it's still, when I looked at what I am not on the Conservation Commission.
So it sounds like Mr. Sheehan is suggesting that I get the delineation done and try to get on the agenda for the 13th and then go from there. As long as the engineer is still willing to work with me on this, I'll have to ask them to redesign based on, it sounds like whatever the Conservation Committee says. So at this point, I can follow Mr. Sheehan's guidance on Shaheen's, I'm sorry.
Here's what,
Guidance
Mr. Brunetti, here's what I
delineator?
suggest we do.
Yeah.
Here's what I suggest we do. Have your wetlands delineated, but not mapped onto a plan. I wouldn't spend the time or effort having the flags set on the plan at this point. Have the edge of the wetland delineated. We will then do a site visit. The commission will do a site visit to find out how close to the wetland edge your system will be. Actually, if you could have Bob or somebody put 4 stakes in the ground at the corner of the proposed system as shown on the plan, that would be extremely helpful. Okay. And then we can come up with some guidance going forward. But I wouldn't spend the money having the flags put on the plan at this time. I would just want it flagged in the field, just field flagging. That's it.
No, and I appreciate that too, because by the way, for those that don't know, any of that delineation is not being done on the land I own. This is going to be done on my neighbor's land. You know, so what you're suggesting is helpful. Because they're going to have people walking on their land.
We touched upon that on Saturday, and we went over that, if you recall, gently. It doesn't matter whose land it is. It's got to be done. Got to be done.
Yeah. Okay.
I know that if, as I suggested, where I think things will end up going way smoother, is if you end up with the system at the required 5-foot separation, designed for the vertical separation, going back to the wetlands people, when you say, look, I've got the thing, the 100 feet from my well, that's pushing me back. I know that if I move forward towards the front of the property, I'm going to be in more ledge problem. And the wetlands people, the Conservation Commission, end up with you saying, gee, I've done the best I can do. I've got this thing, instead of squeezing out the filtration by taking 2 feet of soil out of there, that you say, I've put this thing up to the level that the code would normally have said without asking for a variance, and say, I've pushed it forward as far forward as I can. And then we say, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make the 100 feet, but you're not asking now if we have to give a variance to that. We haven't given the variance to dropping it down closer to the water. So I guess we're back to my same suggestion, saying if this thing were up at the 5 feet above the water that it was supposed to, and that everybody looks at it differently when you're saying, I'm not asking for a variance to make it down closer to the water besides, and you can't go any further away from the wetland than it is. I think my experience is the Conservation Commission acts way differently when you've done everything you can do to make it work. And
Okay.
that's, and if you look, that's probably the same thing that I said, 2 weeks ago.
Okay. All right. I won't waste any more of the board's time. I appreciate all the guidance. I'll try to summarize everything into a quick note and send it off. And I'll work with Bob and Jill and see if we can get this thing moving. Get the delineation.
Okay, Mr. Bernetti, thank you. Thanks for
Thank you.
working with us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good night.
Can I just say something at this time?
Sure.
We proposed doing a step-down Presby. We were told you can't do a multi-level Presby. It's not a multi-level Presby, it's a step-down Presby. We were told that it can't be done. Well, it can be done. It's in the Presby manual that it can be done. We have spent a lot of time going back and forth, trying to come up with a good system on. We didn't even find out till this last weekend that they were going to allow the 2-bedroom. So we haven't changed our design or gone forward because we haven't gotten any answers. And we keep going back and forth. The plastic barrier, I just sent an email that shows that Presby allows that plastic barrier 5 feet from the system. That's in the Presby design approval from the state. So, I keep going back and forth because Mr. Bombardier is not very clear on what the Presby does allow. So,
Jill, one question for you. What's the
Right.
difference between multi-level and step down? I don't understand what does that mean?
we sent Mr. Bombardier an email showing that the multi-level is when you have a system on top of a system. A step down is a step down system. So those are, we don't have any systems on top of a system. We have a step down system. So it's a difference. And if you look in the Presby design manual, they show their step down systems. And that's the manual that was approved by the state. So we need to, we can't keep changing the plan. Wait a minute, Bob is here. Let Bob talk.
Yeah, let me explain. What Mr. Bombardier saw was the laterals must be level. That means you can't put, like with a stone system, 0.5%. They're sloped. The laterals have to be level. But then it says right after that, which is confusing, they said that a multi-level system is not allowed in Massachusetts, but it is allowed in all other states. A multi-level system is a bed on top of a bed. Now, on the plan, it shows in fact, Massachusetts recommends step-down systems. You're supposed to follow.
I'm gonna stop everybody right now. As I said, we have a design review process. And the design review process is not to have all of the board members involved with this. It's
Well, they should be.
Well, they should. Well, you're
Yes,
not on this board, and it makes it so that
'Cause I know
board
Bill
meetings go
understands.
on for hours and hours, and we don't. And this, other than for you, Bob, it works through and we get to a conclusion. And yeah, people help me with brand new systems to us, and Jill is right, absolutely, and you're right. The multi-level is what you're describing right here. And it's not allowed by the state, but it's not what you were proposing. You were proposing a sloped one that's allowed. And the barrier is allowed by Presby. But it's not just what you're proposed either, because Presby says to run the sand out to the barrier. But anyways, this is the design review process stopped, and Steve stopped it. You guys stopped it. and said, we just don't want to talk to Dick Bombardier anymore. And so, as I said, this is not, this board does not spend a half hour, an hour, or 2 hours doing design reviews that can be done offline, just as most other boards who have a Board of Health agent deal with that offline. And we're not going to do it here either. So what the owner asked is that we approve or reject the design based on what you gave to us. And we're rejecting that design, and we're telling you that we're rejecting it essentially because the water of the wetlands haven't been laid out, and there was not the soil evaluator for the Board of Health that was our agent on scene, and so that we're not accepting that. And it was very much said, this is not brand new tonight. It is what's been said for almost 3 weeks. So we're going to end the design review part of this. So we're going to move on with our meeting. Thank you. So our next item is the timesheet for Colleen. That's a normal timesheet of 70 hours for the 2 weeks. Lee and Bill, are we okay with that?
Yep, all set on my side, Dick.
Yep, all
Lee?
set. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. The next one is the money turnover. What we've got is a total of $1,605, and out of that is $1,155 for Board of Health permits. The next is $450 for Board of Health fees, and that's both of those total the $450 and the $1,155 total is $1,605 dollars. Are we set with that?
Yep.
Bill,
All set.
Yes.
Lee?
Yeah.
And I am
Yes,
too,
thank you.
Colleen, so that's approved. The next
Okay.
one is for bills payable. We've got 2 of them for Fred Marion. One is for plumbing inspections for $945. One is for mileage for $40.40. And the other one is the Stericycle fuel charge for $10, totaling $995.40. Are we okay with that, Bill and Lee?
Yes, all set.
Yes.
I am too, Colleen, so that's approved. I've got for the Granby Preservation Society licenses for 1-day temporary food permits. And we've got on the November 26th and November 27th. And then that is in fact, they're all the Festival of Trees. All 4 of them are, so that the 26th, 27th, the December 3rd, December 4th. I'll do them all as one unit. Are we okay with those 4?
Oh, all set, Dick.
Lee?
Yes. Yes.
Lee, are you still here?
Oh, yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. And I am too, Colleen, so all 4 are approved.
Okay,
The next one is a temporary food license, 1-day temporary permit for the Church of Christ for the Jingle Bell Bazaar for December 3rd, 2022. Are we, Bill and Lee, are you okay?
We're good.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, me too, Colleen, so that's approved.
okay.
The next one is a certificate certificate of compliance, and this is for repair. This is for Carrie Burke at 61 North Street. An installation of a new distribution box. It is by Neil Jackson who signed off on this, and it's his permit to do it. Lee, are we okay with this one? You've signed
Yeah, I
this.
witnessed that. It's all properly, it's got the foot of stone level, it's all good.
Are you okay with that, Bill?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
I am too, Colleen, so that's unanimous also. The next
Okay.
one we have is lot 6, excuse me, at 120 Cold Hill. And that is the building department sign off for the well and the septic system. This is for the building permit part. And we have previously approved the septic system design, and we did get the water test. We were missing the bacterial test, and that was a good test. Are we set to have Colleen sign this, Bill and Lee?
Yes.
Yep, yes.
And I am too, Colleen, so that's approved.
Okay.
The next one that I have is Thero Brothers for disposal works installer's permit. This is a renewal. Are we okay with that?
Yes. Oh, yeah, Theory, brother.
Yeah.
Good. Mike's good.
And I am too, Colleen, so that's approved unanimously. Now,
Okay.
Colleen, we've got 2 of these that I only have one, it looks like, that I copied. These are 10-day emergency beaver or muskrat permits. And I guess both of them are the same. I had a question, Colleen, to you, that since it was beaver trapping season, I didn't understand what they were looking for, and this is actually both. This one is at 112 West State Street, that they have flooding of a culvert to get into their property. And it says a beaver dam downstream of the driveway culvert is raising the water by 2 feet, and it's rising. A large storm or spring runoff could flood and damage the driveway access to the home. And this is by Mike Kaline, that's the owner, I'm believing, but the permit is from Joe Escalade. Do we have a discussion? Should we approve this? I think we should approve it. Customary that we do when the beavers are doing damage. Colleen, your information that you gave us is that the trapping is being done by others, and this was actually for putting in a water level control, a culvert type operation, a beaver deceiver or something. And this person was gonna work with Conservation Commission, but they needed this permit first. Is that correct?
Yes, they both did ask that the board sign off on these, even though they, well, the one on West State Street, that fellow, Mike Callahan, who's from Beaver Solutions, I guess, he said he had a trapper there, but he still needed to sign off because they want to talk to, or they need to talk to Conservation after they get this sign off, then they'll talk to Conservation on.
Yep. Colleen, on the same subject, did Jack Moriarty at the air base call you today?
Yes, and then he dropped off the application, filled out
Okay,
application.
I think they don't want to do trapping. They simply want to put in a deceiver. So I think it only has to go to conservation. I believe that's the case.
Yeah, he did say they weren't doing trapping, but when he came in, he said, no, we still want the board to sign off, but he said they weren't doing trapping, so
Okay, Dick, that's over on the Mullen property over in Stony
Right.
Brook. Yeah,
Right,
Jack
that's
called
not, the
me.
first one isn't though. The one that I've just read about is not. This one
Okay,
is on 112 West State, so there's two of these we have to act.
okay, very good. Yeah, and again, we've worked with that Beaver Solutions. They're a quality outfit. They do good work.
So are we approving both of these?
I'd recommend yes.
Yes.
Lee, how are you with those? And I am too, Colleen, so
Yeah.
they're both approved unanimously.
okay.
Okay. Next one, I'm gonna group these together. These are Title V inspection reports. And it's 187 West Street by Dave Kibbe passes. 144 Carver Street, Greg Everson passes. 150 Amherst Street, Neil Jackson passes. 61 North Street, Neil Jackson passes. 149 Amherst Road, Neil Jackson passes. 11 Leo Drive, and then 29, 30, 37, 41 Kellogg Street, Neil Jackson, all passes. Lee, what do you have to tell us about all of those?
Everything is fine. The Leo Drive area, of course, was for the community system, checking out the viability of the existing tanks in the ground, but everything's fine. There's no issues.
Okay, then I move that we receive all of those. Do we have someone seconded?
Second.
One of you guys has to second that.
Yeah, I do. Second.
Okay, okay. Are we all in favor of it? I am.
Yeah, aye.
I'm
Aye.
in favor. Yep.
Okay, Colleen, we're all in favor of doing them all. The next
Okay.
thing that I have, the health inspector reappointment. Colleen informed us that Glenn Dinas, what we think was a 3-year appointment. It ran out. And do we want to appoint her for another 3 years to allow her to do our housing and restaurant inspections? I think we should, but
Sure.
Lee and Bill, what do you think?
No, I think if she's willing to continue, that would be in our best interest to keep it going, for sure.
Yeah, I'm good with that, Dick.
And I am too, Colleen, so we'll do her
Okay.
3 years.
Okay.
I don't understand this one. Colleen, there's 2 documents that we have on hauler
Hmm.
permits.
Yeah, I wanted
And-
to, we were talking at the last meeting about the pumping form, and I'm going to put a note on the renewal form to remind them that they have to submit the pumping form. Some do and some don't. But there's also, I found, through DEP puts out this application to use that local boards of health can use. And it has more information on it that maybe you want when they're applying at the beginning of the year, which I'm sending all the renewals out this month. So I was wondering if you'd like to have to use that application because it asks how many trucks they have and like where they're disposing their stuff. And ours doesn't. Our it's very simple application that we usually send out. So I thought you might want to use this one.
I'd like to use it, but how about Bill and
Yeah,
Lee,
yeah,
what do you
I've looked
think?
at it. It's comprehensive. It at least maintains some sort of chain of custody where the wastewater is going, Dick. I think it's a good idea.
And Colleen, you
That makes
also
perfect
as
sense.
part. Yeah, so we're gonna do that. And you're gonna make sure that you also tell them that they have to report on each
Yes.
one of these, where they, who they pumped and where they took it.
Yes, I
Okay.
will.
The next one, Colleen and I talked about, I don't know, me and Bill, I don't know if you saw the note that came from, I guess it was from Gail in the selectman's office about whether
Kathy Lynn.
we could, this is what do they call it? A senior work-off that is, there are other towns that have it, that the seniors can work for some nominal number, like $12 or $15 an hour. And instead of being paid, I guess they take it off their taxes. And
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah,
I'm for that.
Chicopee has the program and it's
Really?
quite popular.
I
Quite
can
popular.
imagine, yeah. So,
and
so,
so
so what sort of
Go
work
ahead.
would people be doing?
when Colleen and I talked about it, we said that before you got on, Bill, the state has got a, a plan that they publish, and maybe Colleen, you can give Bill the link to it. It's like 127-page document that studied boards of health in the state, of which there are 346 of them or whatever. Every town has got a board of health. And they, for the most part, do things in all different ways. They don't keep records that are uniform records. They don't do inspections the same. They don't keep track of restaurants. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the state is going to want to know on disease records, and they'd like to standardize the record keeping. And what Colleen and I talked, and it's a huge job, and it's different. It's different than Colleen's work of just scanning and putting in records that are, I guess they're digitized records, but that's not information. It's just a picture. And as compared with this being digital information that's searchable. And it seemed when Colleen and I talked about it, that there is a huge amount of work that could be done for this board, that it would probably require training so somebody could understand what they're supposed to be entering. And it's going to be working, someone's going to have to work with the state to figure out how they want the records. And then there's going to have to be some kind of computer that's involved to be able to do the work. So what Colleen and I were thinking is we ought to talk to you, Lee and Bill, about whether we should go to the selectmen and say, yeah, if you had some people that were trainable, that we could in fact use this, but it would require the hardware part that would be the computer, probably some software that whatever the standard forms that the state wants to use, and then some training to how they would go about doing it. And then somebody's got to check to make sure the data that went in was the right data. So this isn't a freebie that we would just say, oh, give us the people and we're home free and this gets all done. And it ends up requiring some of Colleen's work too. But
So
what-
Dick, would it consist of scanning in archival septic plans from years ago, stuff like that?
if we chose, that's what Colleen was doing, some of that stuff. If we wanted to do that, that would be something that's probably easier to show someone how to do than to making sure, for instance, restaurant inspections were put in a way that it's searchable.
Hmm.
But it sure seemed, as I thought about it, that if someone were to ask us, like they did, like the selectmen asked us, hey, could you use some more help? And then we say, nah, we got plenty of time for everything we ever wanted to do, then the obvious conclusion has to be that Board of Health, you've got a fat budget because no one should have plenty of time to do anything that anybody asks them to do. And in reality, we don't have anywhere near the time that the state is going to be requiring us to do. So my thought is that the three of us should get back to the select board or to Gail, whoever it was that asked, and say, yeah, tell us what's available, and this is the kind of stuff we're thinking about. But Lee and Bill, what are your thoughts?
Let's entertain it. Let's at least delve into it and see what's available, see what it entails. We can always say no. But let's take a look at it.
Lee?
Yep, absolutely. Especially if we.
That's what I think. Yeah, if it gets so that it's so much work for Colleen that it makes it so she can't do her other work, her existing work, then it doesn't work out.
Right.
You know, at work, I've been given gift horses before and find out that what I saved was a quarter of the time that it took me to get it to work. And then it just wasn't worth it.
It's the same with me, Dick. I used to hire graduate students. It would take me 9 months or to a year to get the graduate student up to speed. In the meantime, I would waste most of my time training this individual. So sometimes you're better off just doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So you're right. Sometimes having helpers isn't all it's cracked up to be, believe me.
Yeah. So Colleen, that's what we'll do. If you can get back to Gail and tell her, and let's see that, you know, it's possible that we end up saying, you know, the only people that are available are people that have no idea what a computer is. And, you know, and they're looking for someone that's really just, you know, or work that, not someone, but work that's just manual labor or something, and that won't work for us. But we could be surprised. We might have a lot of people that are capable of doing this work.
Yeah, let's explore it. Let's explore it.
Yeah, let's explore it. Okay, so that's what we'll do. We got a request from the library. And Colleen, you can help me on it, but it sounded like the library wanted the Board of Health to say something about sick people coming into the library. And and I don't know, is that what you, Bill and Lee, did you get copies of that also?
I saw that a couple of weeks ago, Dick. I looked at that. That was a head scratcher for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's mostly to do with parents bringing their sick children into story time and whatnot. And I that was the request. Basically, could the Board of Health, you know, what kind of sign could she put up, but saying per Board of Health, you know, so I don't know. what you
Do
thought.
folks in the library, are they wearing masks in the library currently?
I
I was
don't
in the
know.
library at a book signing a couple weeks ago, and there were only a couple people, and they were the people that were in the room with the book signing that had masks. No one else had masks on. Now it
And
was, go ahead.
how's the air flow, the air exchange rate in the library, Dick?
I don't know what the number is, Bill. It's not a stagnant system. It's a system with some fresh air, but it's a pretty new system. So again, without knowing what I'm speaking about, what I can surmise is that it's an energy conservation system. And so it's probably working at reducing fresh air as low as it can safely be instead of running it way up. You know, it's an energy conservation system more than likely.
Okay,
And that's not, and to the best of my knowledge, there are no HEPA filters in the system. So
okay.
I'd be comfortable with what we know about RSV, flu, and COVID, that you could put a sign saying that RSV, COVID, and flu are, you could say that the season is here for RSV, COVID, and flu. And the Board of Health requests that if you have symptoms of those diseases, that you not use this building. Lee, Bill, what are your thoughts? Did I lose you?
No, that's a gentle way, that's a gentle way to do it, Dick. I think that's an appropriate way without being too severe on our end. But again, we're relying upon the guest to be truthful. And I hope they would be.
Well, and
Much-
in that same spirit, and we request, since the library is requesting us to help them, and that's, you know, I'm glad to be part of it. Does the library staff brace this enough so that they are fully masked at all times? And I don't know that they are or are not. I would suggest that they forward the program to help us by doing it themselves, so everybody it's okay.
Yeah, my computer's not acting just right at this point, Lee, but it sounded like what you were saying is make this a two-parter. One is you put the sign, as the other that the library staff give the outward appearance of being concerned with this by wearing the masks. In fact, they could even encourage, our sign could even say we encourage people to use masks in crowded buildings.
Dick, do the employees at the library, do they self-test with an antigen test daily?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't think the schools are doing that anymore either.
But Children First still does it, correct?
Pardon?
No, Donna, down at Children's First, they still test daily, I believe.
I don't, I don't know that. We have to talk to Donna about it.
Because I think that's a darn good practice. That's a darn good practice.
So in terms of this, do we get back to the library and say, okay, the Board of Health is saying that the number of RSV, COVID, and flu cases is increasing in the area, and the board requests that individuals exhibiting symptoms of these diseases not use the library, and the Board of Health suggests wearing masks in crowded buildings and wearing masks in the library. And then then let the library staff know that we suggest that all the staff members wear masks in the library when they're not in their own offices. And it kind of has them put a little bit of skin in the game. It's not just the library, it's not just the Board of Health saying, hey, all you patrons do this. It's also letting them know, when I go into the pharmacy, I wear a mask, into Lee's pharmacy. And when I went into the doctor's office the day before yesterday, in the building, we had to wear masks. Is that what we're suggesting, Bill and Lee?
I think that would be good practice, Dick. And again, you got to let the employees of the library take the lead and show the example. But I think it's a very good practice.
Yeah, I agree.
Lee, what do you
They
think?
need to be- No,
Okay.
I
So
agree.
Colleen, that's what,
Okay,
okay, so we'll do that.
okay.
So for other business, before we go on, I do have to ask Lee and Bill. I did shut off the discussion on the septic systems. Was it, we discussed this, it's got to be a couple of years ago. So Bill, you weren't on the board at the time, but we specifically at the time found that this is for your benefit, Bill, that I'm saying this. We found that the meetings were consumed with septic system things, that we'd get somebody, a designer, that would come in and give us a drawing. We'd end up fumbling around for half an hour with it, and the review would only be as good as we were able to catch would be while we're looking at them. So it consumed a lot of time and it wasn't very complete. The other thing that was consuming a bunch of time was the review of Title V's, talking about what happened at every Title V, what did you see, and what we did is we decided that we would behave as if we had a health agent, and that those discussions would all happen offline. And to make it so that the board meetings would just be to hear a very quick summary by, in this case, the septic systems were me, and the Title V's and and also the installations were Lee. And they would be just a very quick summary and we'd move through them. and that we would absolutely not let these meetings be consumed by an engineer that came in and just decided he was going to argue every little point. And
Yeah,
so,
obviously, Dick, that's what Bob was trying to do tonight. And in fact, subsequent to that, I went to the EnviroSeptic Design Manual, all 49 pages, Dick, all 49 pages. It's unbelievably detailed. And you're right, we don't want to get into a big technical discussion with the three of us and Caffarelli and Jill. Again, the way you're doing it with the pre-review, that's the way to do it.
okay. Lee, do you still feel that way too?
Without question.
Okay.
Absolutely. And, you know, I mean, I'm not picking on anybody, but the day of the work, I specifically mentioned to Jill that the wetlands in this area had to be addressed. So this is, unfortunately, I'm not sure why we got to where we are now, but they didn't heed any advice, even though, and I don't know the name of these maps, but these maps show where water is throughout the whole state.
Yeah, Lee, those mass map or wetland delineation maps are extremely inaccurate. They're
Oh, they are.
they're usually off at least 50 feet, one way or the other. So they're a guidepost as to what might be there, but you should never use them as gospel.
Okay. I thought they were better than that.
Not
No,
really.
But
And
I
then,
guess the point is that we tried to hint.
so,
You know, didn't.
so
No.
I'm definitely having trouble with my computer right now, being able to hear people.
Okay, Dick.
So so it turns out then what happened should have been it. And when this system works with every other designer and engineer, and one person is not working on the two systems that he has, then my conclusion is it's not our system that's no good. It's that
Right.
person.
I
It's
guess
not
one could
working.
say that. Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So if we don't have anything else, then
Just one thing, Dick. Did you guys receive the, from Neil Jackson, the septic permit application for, it's a tank and D box at 134 Aldridge Street? He just dropped
I
it off.
did. I saw one of those.
Okay, so he wanted to
I
see
didn't.
if you guys would approve that.
I got it from you, Colleen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's just a D box, and there was a question I had. When you replace a single device, we have a fee of $75. This was two single devices. Do we still only charge $75, whether it's one or two?
That's the way we've been doing it all along, unless it's changed, but no, yes, that is the way we've been doing it.
So essentially what it's saying is that the tank and the D box are together, and it's the leach field that's the big deal. And that's the thing that needs the design. Sounds like that's what we're saying.
Mhm.
Okay. Lee, what do you say about that tank and D box? Are we set? Should we just approve that from Neil?
Yes, this is simply a Title V because the property is being sold. not be any issue there, although the SA for a while of the deterioration. But as far as when he was observing, it did not be any negative pressure whatsoever coming back into the distribution box. Difficult to determine based upon the deterioration again of this component.
You're the guy. Are we to say, okay, it sounds like it's done.
It hasn't been put in yet. They can't. But it's forthcoming.
So I get my reception is so awful right now, and I can't see your hand, Lee, but if I can see Bill. Is Lee saying that we're okay, Bill? If it is, can you raise your hand?
Yeah, Lee, just as a relay, are you agreeing with what Dick's saying?
Oh yes, everything's fine there.
Yep, everything's good. Everything's good on
Okay.
Lee's end, Dick.
Okay, I'm okay with it too. So Colleen, all three of us are saying
Okay.
approve it.
Okay, good.
So was that it for us for tonight?
I think so. Well done.
Okay. Then happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Okay,
And
you
I'll
too,
think of
Dick.
you when I'm laying on the beach in St. Martin.
Oh,
Good for
gosh.
you guys. Good for, have a great trip. Have a great trip.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good
Okay,
night.
bye. Bye now.
Have a great
Bye.
trip.